Well, folks, thank you so much for joining us to our first of a kind symposium on uniting the UAP community. My name is Jim Arak. I have an MS in electrical engineering, and I am with MUFON, Massachusetts as a field investigator. Special hi to MUFON Mass State Director, Mr. Eric Hartwig. Love you, baby. Okay. And so with us, we have the fabulous Frederik Uldall. He is founder for DNUS, Danish Network for UAP Studies. Frederik, please tell us what you have, and thank you.
Hi, Jim. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And it's just a great honor to be here with you, and great privilege also to be speaking alongside with all these fabulous speakers who will come after me as well. So I just wanted to start out with presenting a little bit about the new network that we've started here at Denmark. It's a scholarly network for academics who are interested in UAP studies. So I will just share my screen here, see if that works. Let's see, here we go. And if you can you see this now? I cannot hear you, Jim. I just want to.
Yep, got it.
Yes, you got excellent.
Excellent.
So this is the website we have set up. A few people here in Denmark. So this is basically not really an organization. You could say that it's more kind of a meeting place or a meeting forum for academics, for scholars who want to study UAP. So you could say it's a cross-disciplinary forum which will try to bring together UAP scientists in Denmark. So I think this is really possible now because there's so many interesting academic and scholarly initiatives that are being started around the world. So this actually, you could say it stands on the shoulders of so many other initiatives out in the world. For example, the Soul Foundation, the Galileo project headed by Avi Loeb, who will speak later today at this symposium, UAPX, which is also a scholarly UAP research initiative from the University of Albany, the Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies, IFEX in Germany, Shaipang in France, and the Vasco project in Sweden, headed by Assistant Professor Beatrice Villaruel. And then there's a NASA study team. So all these initiatives here, we're really trying to get the attention of Danish academics and showing them, look at all these initiatives, academic initiatives that's going on around the world, that's cropping up. What about you guys also doing some UAP science here in Denmark? And we also point to, like, there's a lot of UAP citizen science initiatives also going on. For example, the Nightcrawler Eye in the Sky initiative, which is headed up by John and Jerry Tedesco, who we will also hear from today. They're later on the program. So there's so many initiatives out there. So now we really want to try to provoke and initiate and inspire some research here in Denmark, which is scholarly. So this initiative doesn't really have any opinions, or it doesn't try to prove that UAPs are real. It's just, you could say, just a meeting room or a meeting place for scholars. So one of the objectives is also, of course, to try to have host an event at some point in the future, where scholars can come and share ideas. So we are at the moment a few people here at our initiative. We have a few people here. There's me, and then there's Gert and Louise. We are kind of on the board. And then we are setting up a support team here with a guy named Sune. And then we have setting up an advisory board. And these are really the academics that are trying also to help us set this up. They're trying to advise us how to go about this and using the scientific method within this network. So this is the new initiative in Denmark, and this was not really possible like 15 or 20 years ago when I started being interested in UFOs and UAP. So I think I'll go to my main presentation now. Are you still there with me, Jim?
Yes. Yep.
Yes.
Please continue. Excellent.
Okay, you are still. I'm just checking in to see if you can, because I'm not getting any feedback. But now I got your feedback. So now I would like to go to my main presentation. I am, as you can see, from Denmark, which is a small country in the northern part of Europe. It's the southernmost Scandinavian country, and part of our kingdom is also Greenland and the Faroe Islands in the North Atlantic here. So there have been a lot of drone incursions here in Denmark lately. So this is mainly what I would like to address in this brief talk. You can find my website. My name is Frederik Uldall, as you can see, and also the research network, the DNUSDK. That's also a website, and I'm also present on various social media platforms. So if you want to follow me, you can do that there. I am an author, and I've been an activist and a commentator since more or less since 2007. I founded an organization called Exopolitics Denmark back in 2007, which ran to around 2024, and it was kind of you could say UFO advocacy network, and that organization really had an opinion. It had the opinion that there was something flying around in our skies that was really advanced technology, and that should kind of be disclosed to the public. But now I am operating in a bit of a different capacity. Now I am not really engaged formally in an organization which has UFO advocacy on the agenda. Now I'm just the facilitator of this UAP studies network in Denmark. But in a private capacity, I'm also commenting every once in a while in the media, appearing sometimes in the television and radio and on podcasts in Denmark, and also trying to kind of enlighten the Danish public of what is going on, for example, in the UAP caucus in the United States Congress. So every time there is kind of a hearing in the US Congress, I normally go on the media and talk a little bit about that and trying to translate it to the Danish audience. So this is what has been happening in Denmark in the last couple of weeks. We have had some drone incursions here, which has prompted a lot of attention among the authorities and the public in Denmark. As many of the viewers and the people present in the venue that you are at, you will be aware of the drone incursions in New Jersey almost a year ago, and also, for example, at Langley Air Force Base in 2023, I think. But you have so many drone incursions in New Jersey, but now it's happening actually more or less, I would say, the same thing here in Europe. So this is just to give an example. A few weeks ago, over near an airport in the northern part of Denmark, several airports have been closed down for a brief period of time, and this is just to illustrate one of these recordings from some of these incursions here in Denmark. So just to highlight the chronology of these incursions, it all started on September 22nd, more or less at the same time as an incursion in Oslo in Norway. And this resulted in there was about, I think, 2 or 3 drones that were observed over the Copenhagen airport, which resulted in it being closed down. And on September the 24th, the Aalborg airport, which is, if you can see my mouse here, it's in the northern part of Jutland, the northern part of the country, which is kind of a joint civilian and military base. That was also closed down for a brief period of time. And there were also reports around an airport here at Esbjerg, and also perhaps some drone incursions at another airport here called Billund, and also at Sønderborg airport, which is close to the German border. But perhaps more interestingly, around September 28th, there were also some armed forces locations which had drone incursions. There is a regiment here in the western part of Jutland, not so far from the North Sea. Around, I think, 3 Panzer battalions are stationed there. They had drone incursions, and there were also some drone incursions near an airfield or an air wing called Skydstrup in the southern part of Denmark, which actually houses the Danish Air Force's F-35 planes. I think there are around 21 F-35 stationed down there. All right, and actually also there was an airbase, Karup Air Base here in the middle of Jutland, which is not on the map, that also had drone incursions. So there were several places here that were observing these strange flights above them. And this, on the September the 28th, there was actually also a Russian violation of the Danish airspace again. And this is pretty normal Danish procedure, that the Russia is not so far away from a Danish island called Bornholm, which is in the Baltic Sea. And what the Russians do, they test the Danish airspace, and the Danes, they normally send a couple of F-35s out and to chase the Russians away. And this was also happened right after these drone incursions. So that got a little bit more focus, especially also because Estonia, which is up here, also had some overflights of some Russian planes, and Poland and Romania have just recently had some drone incursions as well. So there's a lot of focus by this on the authorities and also in the Danish media. So what happened was that the Danish Prime Minister, Mette Frederiksen, which you see here up in the left corner, she held a press conference, and she also addressed this drone situation in Denmark, because we are having this EU summit just a few days after these incursions. So what she really called it, she called it hybrid attacks, and she couldn't rule out that it was actually Russian drones. She didn't say it explicitly. She didn't accuse the Russians explicitly for them being responsible for this, but she said that it was these drones it was a coordinated effort, and it came from a really capable actor. Much more, a little bit like the New Jersey incursions as well. So what the Danes, they were really, really fast in also getting some help from other countries, from Sweden, some anti-drone equipment from Sweden and Norway, and a frigate from Germany was sent to the Copenhagen harbor, and France sent some helicopters, and Ukraine, which has a lot of experience with drones, also helped. So they very quickly set up a drone radar at the Copenhagen airport, and here's at the bottom of the screen is a photo of a Danish frigate which was sailing outside in the waters of just next to the Copenhagen airport for several evenings or several nights. It continued to patrol there in that area. So then the EU summit in Copenhagen, that happened just last week on the 1st and the 2nd of October. And these drones were, of course, a huge topic on this meeting, where about, I think, 27 leaders from European countries, they all flew to Denmark, and they had this big summit here in Copenhagen, because Denmark has the presidency of the EU Council at the moment. So one of the topics was this drone ban. Well, it was not a topic. The topic was a drone wall, actually, but there was a drone ban in Copenhagen during that week. And here in the left corner, we see the Danish Prime Minister, Mette Frederiksen, talking to the French leader, Macron, at this meeting. And Zelensky President Zelensky from Ukraine, he was also there, and he urged the EU leaders to speed up Europe's planned drone shield against Russia. So the rhetoric at that moment was really that there was a thought that these were kind of Russian drones during the summit. So there was a lot of police in Copenhagen, and also the military was also on high alert, and they were a bit nervous, the authorities, about these hybrid attacks continuing during the summit. So what has happened now? After the summit, there have also been some drone incursions in Germany, actually. Thursday night in Munich airport. Actually, the Munich airport, I think, has closed down 2 times. And there's also been observed around 15 drones near a military base in Belgium named Elsenborn. And interestingly, a Russian shadow fleet ship was boarded by the French off the coast of France a few days ago. And the BBC wrote, they were kind of questioning, does this ship have the link to the drone incursions in Denmark? The separate question of whether the tanker was used to launch last week's drone incursions into Danish airspace remains all unresolved. So there's a lot of speculation about this, and the Danish authorities, they cannot really say where the drones came from and who were responsible for them. So there is kind of a very much similar, in my view, similar situation as what happened in New Jersey almost a year ago. Now it's just happening in Europe, pretty much the same thing, I would say, for the time being. So, but what is also interesting is that just, I think 1 or 2 days ago, the Minister of Defense in Denmark, he really changed the rhetoric a little bit, because as I presented before, the Danish Prime Minister, she really tried to maybe to insinuate that it was the Russians maybe, and these were drone observations over critical infrastructure. But now the Minister of Defense, he calls it more like aerial observations, and he asserted that actually some of these sightings, they were actually not drones. So he opens the space of kind of saying, okay, these drones, they could be more down-to-earth explanation, more mundane things, but it also leaves the space open for them being really anomalous and being something exotic. So, but what we can say is that the Danish authorities, they say the investigation is ongoing. They don't share much info because they don't want to show their cards also to the enemies. But on the other hand, they also want to be transparent and to calm down the public. So I think the Danish authorities, they're trying to strike that balance. And here I just want to make a little point about not necessarily that the New Jersey drones, they were similar to the Danish drones, but there's now a lot of speculation on the internet. They're trying to compare the Danish drone sightings to the New Jersey drone sightings. And this is just one example that is out on the internet with this. And this allegedly, this video, I don't know if it's true, but allegedly this video comes from Denmark, and the other, maybe we can see it again, and the other in the image on the top right-hand corner is allegedly from New Jersey. So if this is true, they are pretty much similar, I would say, but I cannot really judge that. So that's pretty much it from my side. And if you want to learn more about the Danish Network for UAP Studies, please go to our website. And I think if there are any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them.
Frederik, that was outstanding. Lots of questions. You know how I am, being a OCD electrical engineer. So the first and foremost is, for example, the Tedesco brothers were examining similar things during the drone incursions somewhere between November of 24 and March of 25 timeframe, and they actually determined, along with their partners, may have been in Canada, but they have physicists and other scientist partners, and Tedesco brothers determined that the technology that makes some of these drones invisible when you zoom in on video may be that of what's known as a lenticular lens. So in the short, it's some sort of optical effect, or maybe an optical coating or glass, such that from a distance you pick them up visually and through the video camera, but as you zoom in, these things vanish. What did the Danish government see, or what did the media over there see when they tried to zoom in? Do you know?
I haven't seen it because there's only a few recordings of this, and we haven't really, these drone incursions in Denmark, they have not really been linked publicly to what has been happening in New Jersey, which is kind of interesting, a little bit peculiar, but it's, I would love to see some citizen science or some real science in Denmark trying to analyze this. But I don't think there are any initiatives. I mean, we at our network, we don't do research. We just try to facilitate research. But if there are any Danes out there, researchers who have the equipment, some similar equipment to the Tedesco brothers, I I would absolutely urge them to go out and get some data. I mean, we just like the Tedesco brothers, we need more data. Now we need more data here in Denmark. But there have not been any, to my knowledge, any drone sightings in the last couple of days here in Denmark. But perhaps they will return.
Okay, Frederik. The next thing that I'm wondering is the perception in the United States, and also depicted by some of the mainstream, what's called alternative media, not necessarily mainstream media, but we do have a lot of mainstream alternative media. They have speculated, and I believe also they've had inside sources purportedly that these things were somehow linked, at least in New Jersey and other parts of the U.S. over in California, to be linked to the Chinese Communist Party, not the good people and citizens of China, but the government of China, the Chinese Communist Party. Is there any perception in Denmark at all about who it could possibly be?
I mean, there's a lot of people who would guess that it would be Russian drones, right? Being sent off from ships, maybe in the North Sea or in the Baltic or something like that. We also had some drone incursions actually in a town south of Køge, right after the New Jersey flap or during the New Jersey flap, and I think. I think the main idea, what people think in Denmark, either they think that they don't know what it is, or they think it's a Russian. I think that's a general idea here in Denmark. I mean, linking it to being UFOs and UAP, I don't think it has entered the public mind in Denmark yet. I think that's much more prevalent in the United States. I can't say what these sightings are, and I think I also followed the New Jersey flap for all the way through, and I think that was certainly a mixed phenomenon. I think there was some anomalous phenomena there, definitely, but there were also some normal drones there that could be from many different actors. So I think it is also Louis Elizondo that said, okay, if there are some genuine anomalous UAP, then some human actors can also send up drones to muddy the waters. So we are just getting into an era now, I think, where it's really, really complicated what we see in our skies, and it can be a lot of different things. And I'm not a researcher, so I can't. I'm just trying to report what I've just reported what the Danish media they talk about. But I'd love to see that connection, also see, okay, this is. It's almost a similar pattern here in Denmark as what happened in the United States, you could say. Now the Danish authorities, they can't really, people say, journalists are, they're kind of frustrated in the same way as the American journalists. Why can't you say you can track drones over Ukraine and you know exactly where these drones come from? Why can't you tell us where these drones over Denmark? It can't be that difficult. But you need the right equipment to register these drones on the right kind of radar, I guess. But yeah.
Okay, Frederik. I guess I sincerely appreciate your time. I know you're pressed, and if you have time to please stay backstage. One last question for you, since
Sure.
You have the Danish Network for UAP and UFO Studies. In your mind and in your heart of hearts, what would you say, in your opinion, in your knowledge, the number one priority is in order to help promote uniting the UAP community? And
Well,
I know that's hard because there's a lot. But...
yeah, it's about focusing on what brings us together, on our commonalities and not our differences. I think because there are a lot of different agendas out there in the UAP UFO community, and I think people should not be so obsessed with these differences between us. Of course, people have all kinds of different agendas. This is not my livelihood, but I'm respectful of the people who has this topic as their livelihood. They operate in a different way, but we must try to kind of bring the community together, and by focusing on what unites us. I think this is a human exercise, also because the UAP topic it's worldwide. It's not just in the US or in Europe or in South America. It's worldwide, and these sightings have been happening since the Second World War and even before that. So I think it's it's an exercise of really focusing on what brings us together, not be so occupied and preoccupied with our differences. I think that's one of the main things.
All right, wonderful. If you have any final remarks and notes, go for it. And also, world up there in the Uniting the UAP community, I am very proud to say that when I went from an independent field investigator over to MUFON, Massachusetts, as a field investigator, and then starting my show Mass Hysteria, and now the UFO Report, I am extremely and painfully, excruciatingly proud to say that Frederik Uldall was actually my first contact and interview, still being produced, in the UAP UFO community. And it was a very big deal for me, Freddie, and you've touched me right here. And all of us from MUFON, and of course brought to us through Wicked Alien Radio. Sincerely, thank you for all of your time.
It was a pleasure, Jim, and it was a pleasure being on your show, and it was such a privilege and honor. I know this was, and it was fun. I mean, as well.
Okay, terrific. All right.
Take care.
Thank you.
Take care, Jim. Thank you so much.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
Okay. All right. Bye-bye, Frederik. Okay. All right, folks. I will be back in a couple of minutes. Jim Arek, MSWE, and field investigator, and your moderator for our first of its kind, Uniting the UAP community. I'll be back in just a few minutes. Thanks so much.